It put the shrimp on the barbie, turns jingles into near national anthems, makes larrikinism look almost respectable. Mojo. With a string of Aussie-flavoured snap, crackle and pop commercials, Mojo's become the biggest Australian-owned advertising agency with an annual turnover of nearly $500 million. Now a United States agency has bid $75 million for Mojo. Whether the offer is a merger or a takeover depends on which side of the Pacific you're on. Sunday's Justin Murphy profiles a company that produced its first commercial from a $55 a week suburban flat.
Every day there's so much to do. City living catches up with you. You gotta work and sleep and socialize too. No time to think in this human zoo.
We're trying to do something different at the time. We were sick of the system, sick of the way things ran.
So we go for the petrol that's nice and clean. Alcohol, nice and clean. Alcohol in your machine. Alcohol.
We had a phone, fridge, desk, tree and a phone. And we'd say hello, as one does on the phone. And they'd say, oh, may I speak to Alan, please? So, yeah, which Alan? I said, oh, the short Alan. Which short Alan? Oh, the short Alan with a beard. Which short Alan with a beard? Well, the short Alan with a beard who's overweight. Which short Alan with a beard who's overweight? So that became pretty stupid, being called hello advertising. So we called ourselves Mojo, which is Alan Morris on Mo and Alan Johnston Joe.
From humble beginnings 15 years ago to bearers of the national flag today. A pair of minstrels turned consummate ad men, Mo and Joe today conduct campaigns like no other agency.
How do you feel? 3 days at the wheel, taking on the sea and sun. How do you feel?
Nowhere else in the world do campaigns run for so long, so successfully. The Tooheys saga of sporting achievement has chalked up 14 years so far, and built on music and humour, it's still going strong.
How do you feel?
Tooheys was a painful campaign to come up with for a start. So we were fearsome for the first 6 weeks, coming up with a bunch of different campaigns, none of which were satisfactory to us. So we thought, oh, let's go down to the pub, let's get out of this environment, let's go and have a beer. And a friend of Al's dropped into the pub and said, gee, Charlie, you don't look good, how do you feel? I said, like a Tooheys. And I said, well, still that.
That series is probably the best beer ads ever made anywhere in the world.
Now why? I mean, what is it about those that makes them really work?
Well, when you actually tape somebody up when they're watching that commercial, if you put electrodes on them, you'd find that during the early part of the commercial, you're actually winding them up literally. You're getting their pulse going because you're creating tension, excitement. You're building up your heartbeat. Your heart rate's actually going up.
So the ad builds tension and then gives a solution by proffering a can of ice-cold beer.
Exactly. And so when you feel tense, when you're feeling tense, well, the answer is, how do you feel? I feel like a Tooheys. No other brand, only Tooheys.
The things we do, the things we do, the things we do, the things we go through. How do you feel? The things we go through. How do you feel? The things we do for a Tooheys or two.
In another era, so 100 years ago, they'd have been called minstrels or balladeers. They put into music and words what the average person feels but can't express. They're ordinary people who just happen to have enormous talent for doing that.
That's a camera.
And a talent for flouting many of the ad industry's customs. They're constantly sending themselves up, and in the words of their handout, they pride themselves on their ordinariness. As they pithily put it, they don't tolerate prima donnas, elitists, or phonies on their staff. Mojo's audacity, bolstered by their 1986 merger with the much bigger Monaghan Damon Adams, has prompted them to have a go in the very heartland of advertising, America, selling beer to Texans. And as always, it begins simply enough.
That's it, give me love, love, give me
Lone Star, give me Texas.
Give me hard work, soft ladies, and good friends. Don't mess with me, you mess around with Texas. The Lone Star is on the rise again.
Texas had been through some very difficult times economically, and they'd lost their confidence to a certain extent. The beer advertising for Lone Star is a celebration of being Texan, of understanding the culture of being. And I think our greatest successes overseas have always been tied to understanding the local culture.
And, of course, tied to promoting our own.
G'day. Thought I might be able to see America from up here.
Hitting it on the button in America, after all, is nothing new to Mojo.
Fill the icebox, then fire up the barbie. Of course, Aussies like to make you feel at home.
These laconic self-portraits spread the Australian faith from sea to shining sea. And yet they didn't get saturation exposure. They ran in only 6 major cities. Even so, 2 million phone inquiries followed. Soon, it seems, there'll be more.
7번, 8번. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, kimi.
Australia Day 1989, and in a recording studio in North Sydney, Japanese pop sensation Kyo takes some of Joe's best-loved lyrics offshore. It's part of the most expensive media spend Qantas has ever undertaken. Closer to home, but still offshore, an untapped market innocently awaits.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Up and down, round and round. That's the way you brush your teeth with a Colgate, Colgate dental cream. That's the way to brush your teeth.
This is not original Mojo, but the principle is the same.
Number 1 thin piece, number 1 corned beef. Yeah, give me now. That's 2 plus. Number 1 thin piece and number 1 corned beef.
A Port Moresby agency affiliated with Mojo markets the message via travelling players.
Hey.
There's a common thread between the Mojo style of advertising and the style of advertising from Walkabout Marketing, is that there's nothing too intellectual about it. It's not going to tax the brain. It's emotional, it's fun, and it works.
And action, guys. Nice steely glint in the eye.
Meanwhile, an acquisitive world away from the New Guinea highlands, the vast mechanics of Australian ad making are all too apparent. Long hours, countless rehearsals, miles of film, gallons of makeup, and catering vans end up as 30 seconds of compressed, compelling message. Trade the Kingswood in on one of these.
What drives a man to fly for his country? What drives a woman to...
But nothing stays the same. Even the proud nationalism Mojo has used so effectively has, it now seems, a limited shelf life.
We think probably the bicentenary's finished all that off as far as jumping on any nationalistic bandwagons, which we've been accused of doing. Not only that, a lot of other agencies got onto this same sort of thing, so they became a rash of it, and a lot of them for no real reason. I mean,
when McDonald's start comparing a Big Mac to Ayers Rock, and the Pinnacles to their fries, and the Olgas to, I'm not quite sure what the Olgas signify in McDonald's advertising, but an American product that steals Australian imagery is considered a con by the consumer, which is in fact what it is. Everything we do reflects current society, and the current society that we're reflecting is different to what it was when we first did Come On Aussie, Come On, and I Feel Like a Tooties and stuff like that. The fact that half the population of Sydney tonight will go to bed alone indicates that there's a lot of lonely people in this country, and loneliness develops insecurities, of course. It's difficult now, more difficult than it ever has been, to launch a new product in Australia. If you have a tried, tested and proven product that becomes an old favourite, people are more likely to purchase things that they know, understand perform well.
Mojo's own performance seems to bear that out. Over the past couple of years, they've been courted by every major overseas agency with takeover in mind. The one they've decided to entertain is Chiat Day, not America's biggest by any means, but certainly the hottest, with epic products like this to its credit.
We shall prevail.
On January 24, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
It was screened once only, prime time, during the Super Bowl. The next morning, hundreds of thousands queued up for Apple computers.
Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. To be great is to be misunderstood.
Chiat's style is different, eccentric, pays little heed to the rules, which is just what they say about Mojo. But they're also very West Coast American.
Never imitate. To believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all men. That is genius.
So, what's so attractive about a couple of ordinary Australians?
Well, there's a certain exuberance, a rowdiness, a real pure Australian flavor to it. I don't believe in global advertising. I think you have to capture the idiom of the area. So we do very American advertising. They do very Australian advertising, and I think there's a certain panache that we could probably get from each other.
Back in Sydney, the panache was in full swing.
We're successful now, and we're both wealthier than our wildest imaginations. I think that's true, isn't it? I got a new shirt. But we... Starling...
Well, no, I had some pretty wild imaginations about how wealthy I could be.
Yeah, the selling of Mojo, reported by Justin Murphy. And at last call, Mojo shareholders were expected to accept the American offer. Have a nice day. Next, some Sunday music.